My name's Chris Sell. I'm the owner of the Park Slope Chip Shop and the Atlantic Chip Shop in Brooklyn, New York. I take my restaurant very seriously, but I don't take myself so seriously. I think life would be too boring if I did. When I was younger, my mother was a lousy cook, and my father was a great gardener, so he'd grow all of these vegetables, and my mother would destroy them systematically, boil the death out of broccoli and kill cauliflower and corn so you could put a skewer through it. Food in England was terrible at the time because my parents' generation were all war kids. And so there was a lot of rationing. The actual real quality food that rivaled anything the French produced back in the day disappeared. The culture behind that disappeared as well. There was a period of time where, through necessity, it became awful. And I thought there has to be something more than this. And so when I left school, I decided to go to cooking school. My love of food evolved from that point on. Bad food isn't good and shouldn't be tolerated. I opened Chip Shop because every time I went to England, the second stop in the UK was always the fish and chip shop, the first one being the pub. British food is simple. There's no real complex flavours, but they're very pure flavours. That's what makes it so good. We use fresh fish, fresh potatoes, we don't buy anything in. I grew up with fish and chips, I love fish and chips. British food's certainly not just fish and chips or just the fryer. I've been very interested in looking back to British cuisine from the medieval times and from even earlier, the Roman occupations. Today we're producing an adaptation of a medieval dish. It's a stuffed chicken breast, stuffed with a Portobello mushroom mousse, with a tarragon reduction sauce, caramelized onion mashed potatoes and roasted root vegetables. Well, the first thing to do with any dish with a good sauce is the stock. It's the essence of good cookery. I made that last night with roasted chicken legs. And then the quality of the food is the second most important thing. I only use free-range chicken. I want to have a happy chicken that I'm cooking. It sounds wrong, but that's just the way it is. I'm going to bone out the chicken, so I have a double breast. I'm going to put it between two pieces of plastic wrap so it spreads easily and batter it out. The stuffing is leeks and Portobello mushrooms and white wine and cream, which has been reduced down to make a very thick paste. So what I'll do is I'll layer the inside of the chicken, roll it and tie it. And then that's ready for the oven. I want to let it set for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The root vegetables are going to be roasted separately because each vegetable takes a different time to cook. I wanted to have colour there and I wanted to have vibrance there and I wanted to show, good British ingredients. The last thing is the caramelised onion mashed potato. It's just good mashed potato without any garlic powder or cream. It's just potatoes, salt, pepper and butter and some good caramelised onions. When I serve this dish, I serve it in a very classical way. The chicken breast I slice and put over the top with the potato underneath, the sauce around the outside and the vegetables. Very pretty dish. This dish really represents the rich people's food during the medieval times. I mean, it's a very loose interpretation of what they might have done, and the beauty of it is I can follow each of the ingredients where they came from. I mean, the tarragon is a Roman dish, and it was a medicinal plant. It used to treat flatulence of all things. Onions they found in graves in Egypt 3,500 years ago. Potatoes were commercially grown in Peru 10,000 years ago. You really can trace the history of this dish, and you can feel the history in it. Although when you look at it, it looks like a very modern dish. I love this kind of cookery. I love this kind of investigation of food. Finding and redefining medieval English cookery to me is really important. I get so proud to see the process and I get lost in time. I can sit down at the computer for 8, 9, 10 hours sometimes just researching food. I think it's really important that we teach our children where the food comes from and how it's produced. When I moved to the States, my parents were the old generation. My father was in one job from the day he left college to the day he retired. And I was always jumping around and I gave up a perfectly good job and an apartment to move to New York on a whim. And they were very worried and they thought, this is doom and gloom. And I think that they were actually quite proud of how things worked out in the end. I'm going to be very proud to be an American soon and yeah. I'll keep pushing British stuff, but I'm American at heart.